Okay, today we will be showing a demo of practicing fake skins. So I'm going to go over from start to finish on how I create brows on fake skins. So we're not going to be using any pigment today because that gets a little messy. We're going to pull out our microblading hand tool and then we're going to go from there. So I'm going to lay my brows exactly how my client would be laying so I can work from there. So this is the direction they would be laying if I was doing their brows. I'm going to go ahead and start on the right brow. So when I'm placing my blade, I'm never doing it directly like this because it's made of little teeny needles. So if we're moving directly like this, the needles are going to separate. So I'm kind of doing a little teeny angle like this, and I'm just moving the blade towards me. So our strokes are going to gradually start to fall. We're going to continue to line them until we're on our last line, which is the outline of our brow. So that will be our last stroke. So that's from step 1. Then we're going to go in and do step 2. I move around while I'm working. And this is how I work with my clients. So I'm going to move a little bit towards the side to be able to do the tail. So here's our transition point. So I'm going to start it from right here. And we're just moving so our transition can kind of flow freely without crossing those strokes. So you can move it a little bit over. I like to do my transition a little bit closer to that part so I can blend it in together. Then from here, I'm going to go in and do my tails. And then we'll continue to do our tail. So this is kind of our transition point in here. Then from here, if they have no brow hair, you can literally continue to go, or you just line the brow. And this will give you, I'm not going to line it all the way down like that, so I'm going to do one more right there. So from here, you'll either wipe it and move to the next one when you're working on a client, but because we're doing fake skins, we don't need to do all that. So I'm going to go back and go directly into my first strokes. So I'm creating a little one up front. If you have enough space, you can do more than one stroke. So I'll do this one a little bit tighter so you can see there's 1 dimension and then 2 dimension. Then I could go in and do another stroke, which makes it 3-dimensional. But while you're practicing, just practice getting directly in between those strokes. Because remember, we want to leave some space for healing as well. But you're definitely going to have to fill in some spots to fill in bald areas. So I can still see that I can add some more strokes in here. So I'm going to definitely add a little more. I'm going to do one in there. With anyone who has oily skin, I definitely won't do my strokes this close together. I'll kind of make sure they're a little more fanned out. That way I leave room for healing. For my older ladies or my ladies that are dry skin, we can do our strokes a little bit tighter. And just make sure we're not crossing. Anytime we're crossing, we're going to end up having a dark spot directly in that middle where the X meets. So make sure we're not crossing any of our strokes. And I'm just doing a stroke directly in between these strokes just to fill in any bald spots. So now I'm going to go back to the tail and work on the tail. I kind of blended that. I could add a stroke right in there, but if they're healing or if they have a little bit of oily skin, we would not. We would definitely want to, but since it's for our fake skin, I'm just going to go ahead and fill in that little bald spot. So from here, we're going to go in and I'm going to kind of blend in this area. So I'm going to add a stroke right into there. When we're working, we're going to have pigment. So the pigment definitely gets in the way, plus with our brow hair. So we're moving back and forth in between this. So this would be about our third pass. So this is when we're going to kind of go in and fill the rest of our little bald spots up and finish the tail. So you can even extend a previous stroke. Say I have this stroke right here and I want to extend it just a little bit, you're able to extend it. Also practice going directly back into some of your strokes, because sometimes you'll create a stroke and you can tell that it's not deep enough. That stroke will almost completely disappear. But if you go directly back into that stroke once you've mastered that and practice that, then you're opening it up all the way and you're not going to have any of those issues. It's going to be more. So I'm going to go back to doing the tail. So I'm kind of bringing them together, but not all the way. Going in between these bald spots. So I'm lining the brow without lining the brow. And then we are done. So I'm going to show you from the other side now, and I'm going to kind of break it down in steps. So I'll do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I'm always kind of working from this angle, or I'm doing it from this angle. I'm never really on that side. I'm more on this side or directly behind my client. And I'm always resting on my client. I'm never just freehanding or floating, because then you're a little bit shaky. So don't be uncomfortable where you're placing your hands. I place them directly on my client. So step 1. Step 1 is going to be the starting of our brow. We can even do one down. So that's step 1. Step 2 is our transition point. So we're going to transition between this to our going down. So our step 2 is more like our tail strokes. So that's going to be our transition point. step 1, step 2. Step 3 is going directly back in between these strokes to fill in any bald areas that we may have. You can get as close as you need without overlapping. So I can do a little more. Step 4 would be our tail. So we would basically line our tail. And then we would go in and fill in any bald spots. So this is basically it. Step 1, step 2, step 3 is going directly in between step 1, and then step 4 is your tails. So I'm going to show you on number 1, me doing a complete brow. So here is step 1. So here's our transition. So that's about it because I already have that one going up. Step 3 is going directly back in. So I'm just going in between these. You can bring them a little bit out more to kind of blend. So I definitely want to bring more strokes out. So that's when we go into our 2D and 3D dimensional. So this is 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional, and I'm going to do the 3rd dimensional right there. Then after that, we're going to go to step 4, which is our tails. And it's the same type of strokes if we're doing this way, but we're just doing them going slanted towards down now. And that's how we create our full brow. Okay, so when you are working on the fake skins, I want you guys to turn in you actually completing this whole thing. I want you to start with the top. These will be your beginner brows. And then I want you to just work all the way down, completing all of them. That way we can see how you progress. Some might be better in the beginning, awful in the middle, and then the best at the end. So don't feel too worried about that. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, when you are working on your brows, we're gonna give you a few fake skins. So I'm gonna have you guys just practice, get comfortable, work on it, see what works best for you, what angles you need to do. Remember, you wanna kind of get comfortable as if you're doing it with a client. That's why I did it this way, to show you guys how if I was pretending I was doing a real client. On your submission, I do want you to save a fake skin for you to turn in. With the fake skin that you will be turning in, we're gonna have you start from the top of the brows all the way down to the bottom, and this is what you're going to be submitting. That way we can just see the brows that you started with to brows that you feel more comfortable turning in with. So we're going to have you complete a full one and turn that in. It will probably be your last fake skin. That way you can practice, have a little bit of practicing on it. Once you have completed this, I do want a short video of you completing a brow so I can actually see you working and how you're holding your pen. Make sure you're not holding it, we're not holding it like a pencil, we're holding it more like this. That way we can kind of get that stroke motion. If we're holding it down and we're just holding it like this, it's really hard to get a curved line because we're holding it so tough. But if we're holding it like this and we're using our fingers to kind of rotate, you're gonna get that perfect stroke every time because I'm just using my fingers to rotate instead of actually dragging it, trying to use my hand to create that stroke. So just being able to place it down and then rotate with your finger. That's gonna give you the perfect stroke. So just kind of practicing this motion as well. Because if you're holding it like this and you're trying to create those perfect strokes without using any of this motion, it's a little more difficult. So just be aware of that.